I've spent so much of my life trying to fit in, and it seemed like no matter how hard I tried, I still never made any real, genuine friends. A lot of what I've shared throughout this series has been driven by the fact that I lack the necessary support to help me navigate the most challenging experiences of my life. And even despite fighting so many battles alone, I still have this deep urge to find and connect with like-minded people that I can actually call my real friends. I feel like the majority of people in this world are wearing false masks, pretending to be someone that they're not, in order to fit into a society that doesn't even know itself. Which begs the question, do I really want to fit in? Or am I just looking for a sense of belonging? While going through a breakup and losing another one of my best friends at the beginning of 2022, I did just as any normal person would do and reached out to other friends for support instead of suffering in silence alone. I met up for lunch with my closest guy friend and opened up about the horrible things that led to my breakup. And to my surprise, his response wasn't supportive at all. He didn't say, "Wow, that really sucks," or "I'm sorry that happened to you." He didn't even ask if I was okay. Instead, he just laughed as if my pain brought him pleasure. I felt super uncomfortable and just thought to myself, is this real life right now? We had been friends for over 14 years, and I had been there for him throughout many of his breakups and even deaths to some of the people closest to him. To say that I was shocked by his callous reaction was a complete understatement. I was livid. And to add more fuel to the fire, once I returned back home, I received a text from him asking if I would be open to dating him. I always saw him as a brother. Yet looking back, I could clearly see that every time I was going through a breakup of my own, he'd always wind up suggesting that we date or hook up. I just hadn't noticed the pattern until this particular day. I had made it very clear all those previous times that I didn't have feelings for him and that I wanted to remain friends. But by this point, I finally realized that he was just sticking around until he found an end to become more than that. Another friend of mine texted me around the same time to check in and see how things were going. When I brought her up to speed about my breakup and other things that were going south in my life, she just responded back, "All right, well, get a hold of me when you're done with all of that." And I just thought, if you're not willing to be there for me when I'm going through a challenging time, don't expect to be a part of my life when things are finally going good again. After enduring so many toxic relationships back to back, it became impossible to ignore the dysfunction in the rest of the people that I was surrounded by. I started to see everyone's true colors because I finally reached a level of growth within myself to recognize that my friendships were incredibly shallow and one-sided. My friends never invited me to do things with them, even when they had social gatherings. Yet I was always the person they came to whenever their life was falling apart and they needed a shoulder to cry on. I'd sit and listen to them vent for hours on end, coddle their emotions back to life, and give them endless advice on how to better their situations. As soon as they were done, they'd say, "Wow, I feel so much better. All right, see you later. Bye." Not only did I feel incredibly drained afterwards, but they literally never applied any of the advice that I gave them and would come back to me with the exact same issues all over again the next time we spoke. Yet on the very rare occasions that I actually opened up about the things going on in my own life, my so-called friends either completely lacked the emotional intelligence to support me and I'd feel even worse about my situation, or they would just magically up and disappear when I needed them the most. The opposite was also true. Anytime I shared good news or an accomplishment, many of my friends would seem annoyed, downplay my success, and shift the conversation back onto themselves to boast about something that they did in order to one-up me. I've learned that if your friends are unable to celebrate your wins, then they're not your real friends. They're haters who are in secret competition with you. It's said that we become a variation of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. In my case, I was surrounded by people who didn't believe in anything outside of what was known and familiar to them. Everyone was deeply attached to their comfort zones, and keeping them in my life was a literal death sentence to my own soul's growth and personal path in life. Anytime I shared an idea, goal, or dream with my friends, they'd give me a bunch of reasons as to why I shouldn't even bother and project all of their own limiting beliefs and insecurities onto me, which back when I was a people pleaser always made me second guess my ideas and doubt my abilities to make it happen. Therefore, I would give up before I even started. You can always tell the quality of a person based off of the way that they speak about the people in their lives. I've had to learn the hard way that when someone is blatantly gossiping about a person that they label as their friend and sharing all of their personal business to others, they are, without a doubt, doing the exact same thing to you when you're not around. Most people don't have very good boundaries within their own lives. which means that they don't have the ability to hold someone else's personal information in confidence, especially if they use gossip as a form of entertainment and bonding with other people. By the end of April, I started questioning how my friends actually made me feel, rather than how I felt about them. Once I got honest with myself, I realized that I didn't feel loved and supported like I always went out of my way to make them feel. It literally took me until I was almost 33 years old to finally realize that most of my friends never really had my best interest at heart, and I was no longer willing to compromise myself in order to keep people in my life who were only going to hold me back from reaching my highest potential. Everyone has the right to choose whatever life they want for themselves, even if that means living the exact same day, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. However, I've always wanted more, to explore every nook and cranny that life has to offer and become the person that my soul came here to be. So the best thing that I knew to do for myself in order to not fall back into old patterns that I worked so hard to heal from was to finally let them all go. Sometimes the best decision for ourselves doesn't always feel the greatest in the moment, but ultimately leads to far greater than anything that we've experienced before. I had to become comfortable with being seen as a villain in other people's story, and honestly, my life has gotten a whole lot better as soon as I cut ties with everyone who tried to keep me as the person I used to be. This particular period of my life allowed me to finally get to know myself independent of other people's ideas, beliefs, and opinions. I no longer felt like I needed to be someone I wasn't just to appease the people around me. It taught me that loneliness is a choice, not a byproduct of being alone, because you're never truly lonely when you actually enjoy your own company. I realized that I felt more alone when I was surrounded by the wrong people, and less alone when I was by myself, able to fully be who I really am without judgment from others. Being in solitude gave me time to actually get to know myself on a deeper level and love all of the parts of myself that everyone else deemed unworthy. It made me realize that I actually have a lot more to offer than what I was receiving in return, and that all of those friendships were just mirrors for me to eventually see my own part in those dynamics, recognize how codependent I was upon other people's validation, and transform myself to prepare for healthier connections in the future. This experience taught me how to honor my own worth and develop a stronger sense of self. Rather than endlessly pouring my energy into others, I started pouring all of that delicious, loving energy back into myself in order to better my own life. I stopped seeking advice from people who weren't even living the life that I wanted, and finally started trusting my own judgment and following my intuition in a stronger way than ever before. I went from worrying about maintaining friendships with people who didn't value me to becoming my own best friend, which really helped me to narrow in on my values when it came to new friendships and any kind of relationship for that matter. Cutting people out of my life freed up a ton of space to become more focused and disciplined on the things that truly matter to me. Filming for my YouTube channel literally became my life, and brought me to a space within myself where I felt comfortable taking bigger risks with my creations instead of watering myself down in order to avoid offending other people. And the further I stepped outside of my comfort zone and proved to myself that I was capable of more than I previously allowed myself to believe, I developed an even stronger confidence within myself and my ability to overcome things that previously felt impossible, which led me to finally quitting my addictions to cigars and weed. As soon as I surrendered and trusted that the universe was going to take care of me, I finally started to receive support in ways that I never received it before. And the craziest thing was the fact that I was the one who had given the support to myself first. This journey has been and always will be a journey of becoming a better, healthier, more loving and supportive adult to my inner child, which in turn helps me to become a better person in the world and to the people around me. I'm not gonna lie, I've had my guard up pretty high over these last few years. For a while, I thought that I developed trust issues, and while that may be true to a small degree, I realize now that I've just developed a keen awareness to recognize the subtle patterns that indicate when a person doesn't have good intentions towards me and the wisdom to stay away from them. People always show you exactly who they are, and my past experiences have taught me to listen to my gut and take people's intentions at face value. Because anytime something felt off about a person and I didn't listen to my intuition, my instincts always proved correct later on down the road. And now that I've created such a deep connection with my authentic self, I'm no longer willing to let just anybody into my life like I used to. I'm not putting potential friends through rigorous tests or anything like that, but I really observe people's behaviors and how my body responds to them. The universe has given me plenty of opportunities to put my new understandings to the test. I've learned that when somebody is super quick to whip out the, "Oh my god, I love you," when we've literally just met, I know that they're not for me, as that's actually a very common form of love bombing in friendships that from my own experience usually end in jealousy or betrayal. I've also learned that when someone comes in hot and heavy, dumping all of their emotional baggage onto me without ever asking anything about myself, they're just trying to use me as their savior and create a false sense of intimacy to cure their feelings of loneliness. And when someone's quick to suggest that we collaborate or share business ideas with each other when we haven't even taken the time to get to know one another, they're just another shady business deal looking to leech off of my energy for their own personal gain. I've taken these last few years to really get clear on the kinds of friendships that I'm holding space for to invite into my life moving forward. I used to think that I wanted to be a part of a big friend group, but as I've grown and matured, I'd much rather have deep connections with 2 to 3 people that feel like trusted family than a bunch of people who feel like surface-level acquaintances. It's important to me to be surrounded by emotionally mature people who have their own identity and are actively working on becoming their healthiest, most authentic selves and inspire me to become a better version of myself too. People who are ambitiously pursuing their own visions and goals and push me to bring my own wild and crazy dreams to life as well. Friendships where we share some level of spiritual depth and are able to openly explore different points of view together. And most importantly, a connection based in mutual support of the people that each of us are ever evolving and transforming into. Having a clear understanding of my values has saved me a ton of heartache. Now, whenever I don't feel like I fit in with certain groups of people, rather than take it personally or assume that there's something wrong with me, I just recognize that our values aren't aligned and that they simply aren't my people. Having that awareness has been a huge blessing so that I no longer waste my time and energy relearning old lessons with the wrong people. To this day, I haven't made any new friends outside of my partner, and I'm totally okay with that. I love the relationship that I have with him, as well as the one that I've built with myself. And I trust that the people who are meant to be in my life will show up at the exact right moment that we are meant to meet each other. Even though the first 33 years of my life felt extremely confusing, especially in relation to other people, it's a contrast in feeling like an outcast that ultimately pushed me to finally look for more. I would have never truly found myself, my values, or my ability to discern who is and isn't right for me had I never gone through all of my past experiences. If things had stayed just good enough, I would have continued to try to be someone I wasn't in order to fit into communities that I never belonged to in the first place. I don't have any hard feelings towards my past friends. I know that everyone's on their own unique path in life, and that we all came here to live out different destinies. I'm extremely grateful for our shared experiences, the lessons that each of those connections taught me, and the endless opportunities for me to get to know myself on a deeper level. The lesson in all of this is that it's natural and healthy to outgrow people when you're on a journey to discovering your authentic self. Because the person that you used to be and the person that you're becoming will resonate with very different kinds of people. And you don't have to have some crazy altercation or betrayal in order to justify ending a friendship. If someone's trying to keep you as the version of yourself that you no longer want to be, then that's a clear indication that it's time to let them go. Because people who want to see you win will help you win, not hold you back. Focus on becoming the kind of person that you would want to be friends with, and the right people will show up exactly when they're meant to.